And so then we're going to go. Okay.
All right.
So we are, my screen should come up in a second. This one, oh, wow. Technical difficulties. Where are
Oh
you?
no, take your time. Take your time.
Oh my gosh.
Sorry about the background noise. They're doing construction next door.
You're fine. You're fine. Okay, let's see. So let's extend that, and then I don't know what's happening.
They actually just started the grinding like a minute or two before you called. They weren't doing it at all prior.
Oh wow. Okay. Okay. Maybe. I can't call my screen up. This is maybe this will have to be an audio because I can't get up this. Okay. Options. Keep open. Open it login. This desktop.
Trust me, I've been recording hours of content for you guys in the trading group, and it's just been giving me the flux as well. So I understand. It's like when you really need it, all of the bugs come out of nowhere.
Okay. So let's. Oh, okay. Screen recorder. Okay. Let's hit escape. Oh, okay. Now let's get out of that one. Okay. Okay, let's do that one. There. Okay, now we're going to go to Skype. Ah, there you go, and we are recording.
Awesome.
Okay. So, okay.
Yes.
The wonderful and the talented Mr. Jay Riches.
Thank you, thank you.
And you're just doing. I mean, is there anything you do not do?
Well, you know, when you come from where we come from, you got to keep your hands in all the pots you can. You know how that goes.
Well, you know what? I mean, you are just. I mean, I'm honored to talk to you. You are so courageous. Okay, first of all.
Thank you.
And you are definitely at the cutting edge. Okay, you're in the motherland. And you're creating business. I mean, I like to say that we can actually manufacture money from thin air. So you do the Forex. You are an art importer. You have a farm where you are, you do some mining, and you're starting cannabis.
Yes.
Is there, you also do real estate investing in the United States.
It's true.
Are you a commercial baker? I mean, was there anything else that you do? You're married, you have children, and you have a dog that you love. Okay.
Yes, he's with me right now.
Wow. So please tell me. Let's talk a little bit about your background. I know you're from Chicago.
Yes. Yes, so I was born right outside of Chicago in Olympia Fields, but my family is from Chicago, of course. And, of course, you know, going back before me, I'm in Chicago. My mother is from Arkansas. My father is also from the South. My father is actually a blues artist. He's a Grammy winner. He's won 7 Grammys. His name is James Cotton.
Okay.
Yeah. Okay. And so my family, of course, they did the big migration, you know, a part of the big black migration from the South to the North. My grandfather was a farmer, was a mechanic. You know, all of my uncles and cousins, same construction trades, you know, everything like that. And so, you know, getting up to Chicago, my there was a big transition because my family being Southerners at heart, it was a tough shift for them when they made the transition north, and so things got really rough for the family, but they still persevered. So my upbringing was a little rough. I actually was raised by an aunt. Once I moved from Chicago when I was really young, when I was pretty much almost a baby, out to the suburbs of Chicago in a small place called Robbins, Illinois. And that's where my grandparents moved, and my mom and aunt and everybody moved out that way. And so I grew up between Chicago and the suburbs of Chicago. And then when I was in third grade, I ended up moving to Northwest Indiana, to a little city called East Chicago, Indiana. And so that whole Chicagoland region kind of became my roots between Illinois, Indiana, Wisconsin, Michigan, up in Detroit. That's kind of like I'm a Midwestern kid all the way around. So ended up graduating high school in Northwest Indiana from Central High School, and was fortunate enough to get a partial academic scholarship and go to Indiana University. However, when I got there, I did about a year, a little more than a year, but it just wasn't fulfilling enough. My grades were great. When I left, I had basically a 3.8 GPA at the time, and so I was doing pretty good, but I had an opportunity to go and start a business in Alabama, and so that's what I decided to go do. And I was misled by the opportunity because it was supposed to be this full encompassing opportunity that allowed young people from college to start their own company and things like that. Turns out we were doing door-to-door sales. And so they pretty much, they trained us in Nashville, Tennessee, and then they dropped us off in Alabama, just in the middle of Alabama, and was like, hey, have at it. We had to find our own place to stay. We had to generate our own money. I mean, everything. And so I did that for a while, ended up doing pretty decent down there, to the point to where I ended up in Birmingham and was able to start a small business there with a couple partners. And from there, I stayed there for a little while. Then I bounced around the South between Georgia, Florida, and then eventually made my way back north. So once I got back up north, I got into blue-collar work. I did construction, I did industrial roofing, I did chemical operations, heavy equipment operator. Like, my entire, I grew up on construction sites, so I'm a gearhead. I like to get dirty. I like to work with my hands, stuff like that. All of this technology stuff, because I'm an 80s kid, and of course we grew up with video games and everything like that. Like, my love for technology has always been there as well. So just creating things, taking them apart, building things, that's kind of, where my heart is. And so when it came to learning about technology and computers, while I was doing blue-collar work, I was just always into tech. I got out of the video game because I was always into technology, so I began to teach myself how to use computers. And I just kept going with that. Now, actually, I was drop shipping back in 2004, before drop shipping was a thing. I didn't even know what it was. One day I was just looking for a way to get cheap Nike shoes, and I stumbled across Alibaba when it first really got launched. And so I was ordering thousands of dollars worth of clothing and shoes from Asia before people even really knew about what it was. Yeah. And so and then I taught myself how to build websites. And so graphic design and websites and everything like that was kind of like my side hustle while I was working in the chemical plants and on construction sites. And so I did that for a while. I actually got into buying tax foreclosure properties back in about 2004, 2005. My mom actually introduced me to the concept probably back in the 90s, to be honest with you. But I was too young to really, really fully understand the depth of it, and I had other things going on. And the truth is, because I had so many responsibilities and I had so many people to look out for, I actually started doing some things on the side that are now legal that didn't used to be legal. All right?
God.
And so, and so yeah, I've always had a passion for natural healing. I'll just say that.
Okay.
And so ended up not through any fault of my own, but fault from others I was involved with. I ended up getting into some legal trouble. Okay. And I was actually indicted by the FBI in 2005. So, I was facing like 25 years at one point. And fortunately enough, my lawyer, who is actually my Facebook friend to this day, I had a great lawyer and a lot of graces from God. And also, I didn't do what they accused me of. I literally had nothing to do with what they accused me of. The stuff I was actually doing, I never got charged for. So it was, yeah.
Oh my God.
But I was always very, very discreet. Always very, kept a great job. I was doing things to get, not for the lifestyle, but for, to get out of the circumstance and the environment. And so I fought that case for about 3 years before I ended up having to take a plea deal. So I got the minimum sentence, which was 1 year and a day. And when they got through with me, though, they took everything. I mean, the house, the cars, the clothing, the money, everything was snatched away. And of course, when everything is taken, everybody that you were supporting and were connected to turns their back on you. You no longer are that, that person, so to speak. And so by the time I got done with the federal government, I was homeless. I literally lived on the streets for about 9 months to a year. Literally in abandoned houses, stuff like that, you name it. I didn't have anything. And within that year time frame, I went from homeless to being an executive for Jesse Jackson. I was actually his youngest executive ever. I created his first tech department at his organization. I rebuilt it from the ground up. And I actually became Jesse Jackson on Facebook, Twitter, and YouTube for about 3.5 years. I was Jesse Jackson.
Oh, oh my God! Wow.
Yeah, so his entire social media base right now, I built and created his website structures and everything like that. I was with this man by his side literally about 9 months out the year ever, and during that time frame. It was from 2010 to about 2013. So I had some very significant events that I was able to take part in and have a hand in. I could rattle off so many pivotal things that occurred during that time frame, from the earthquake in Haiti. I was on the ground there within 3 days after the earthquake. I was on the ground in Sanford during the Trayvon situation. I was in Wisconsin during the big Scott Walker fight. I was in Detroit during the auto workers union rallies. I could just name so many things, and I learned so much during that time frame. But, I didn't like a lot of the things that were going on behind the scenes. I didn't like the way things were being ran. I didn't, it just didn't align with my spirit, some of the things that were going on. So, and then I learned a lot about the truth. A lot of people can speculate, but I know I managed all of the data, all of the information, all of, you name it. I managed everything. I was the gatekeeper to everything in that organization, from top to bottom, as far as information flow. And so I know a whole lot. And but fortunately, I was able to meet the president a couple times. I've been to the White House. Now, mind you, this is all after being federally convicted.
Right.
So. Right. I hired some staff, and one of my former employees now is still running